Rise and grind heroes, my name is Tetsyumi and welcome back to some more Disgaea RPG Should You Summon. And today we got a pretty big video because as you can see we are going to be looking at all of the characters from the 7 Deadly Sins collab that's going to be coming up here in a few days, including Devil Girl Elizabeth and Leona's Princess Etna. And honestly, I've looked at some of these characters a little bit beforehand, like Meliodas and Elizabeth, and they are honestly looking like the chef's kiss. They are looking like really good units. Now, the only unit I'm actually not going to be taking a look at in this video is going to be Gowther, and the reason being, Gowther is actually the free event unit from the, the event that's going to be coming out with the 7 Deadly Sins collab. So I figured, he's going to be the free unit anyway. I would imagine all, if not most of you are going to be, going and, getting the points and summoning, or not summoning, just acquiring him normally. So I figured because most people are going to just be getting him anyway, there's not really a need to look at his character super in-depth. I mean, he's just kind of a basic event character. He's not great, he's not bad. His stats are kind of like mid to high. They're definitely lower than most of the other stats of the collab units, but he's still pretty decent. So if you just like Gowther, you can go ahead and probably use him, but it's just Gowther. I'm not really going to be taking a super in-depth look at him, but we are going to be going ahead and looking pretty in-depth at every other character. I'm going to try and keep it pretty fast because we have a lot of characters to go through, so let's go ahead and start it off looking at Meliodas. So, Meliodas is a humanoid sword forte knight ally. His stats are all pretty high apart from a few, so his HP is 133, which is really good. His attack is 51, which is, again, really good. His defense is 40, again, really good. His intelligence and resistance are 32 and 36, which are pretty mid, and then his speed is 53, which is also pretty mid, but still really good. So his stats are already looking pretty solid. His attributes are 25% towards fire. His weapon mastery, again, is the sword forte. Pretty much nothing in really anything else. He has 4 in most of the other categories. His abilities are his leader skill, captain's orders, party attack, and HP plus 15%, which is, pretty good. I'll take that. Some nice attack and HP increase. At any +1, he gets a glimpse of darkness. The damage that you do with a special move is plus 55%, which is insane. You're doing just 55% more damage with any special move you have, which is gonna be really strong if you get that. At any +5, he gets down to business, which is at the beginning of the battle, your attack is plus 45% for 3 turns. So if you go ahead and pair that up with a special move already doing plus 55% more damage, that is just going to be an insane damage increase. And then at any +7, he gets already then. SP consumed when you are equipped with the sword is minus 15%. So honestly, really solid abilities all around. He's going to be doing a little bit less SP consumption because you're probably going to have him with a sword. At the beginning of the battle, he's going to increase his attack. He's also going to do more damage with a special move. And for a leader skill, he can just give you more attack and HP anyway. So honestly, all of that is looking pretty solid. I don't think you could go wrong going for really any one of these. I think they're all pretty solid and honestly, probably pretty worth it to get. Moving on to his skills, at level 1, he gets Enchant Hellblaze, which is an AoE attack that also gives him a buff of plus 5% to his attack stat. At level 200, he gets just basically a super better version of that. It's an AoE attack again, and this time he gives himself an attack increase of plus 30 to 40%. Then at any +3, he gets Divine Slayer, which is a single attack and also targets himself. The less physical strength you have, the more powerful you will be. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I know this is similar to like his counter in the show and all that other stuff. So I'm not sure if that less physical strength you have, if that like means your actual attack stat or anything like that, or if it just means like if you're maybe debuffed in the round or something like that. But basically, it's probably just going to give him another attack increase, and it's, a single target. It's S rank, so it's going to be really powerful. So again, probably can't go wrong with using that, although it is going to be a little bit expensive. Moving on to his magic spells, he gets Braveheart, and all of these magic spells, by the way, are pretty much just support for an ally, so they're doing attack, defense, resistance, and then attack, defense, resistance, all just increasing. So yeah, honestly, you really can't go wrong. He is a really just solid unit all around. Also, before I forget, let's go ahead and look at his nether enchantments. Damn, looks like they are all, 30 and 10. I thought, they might be plus 40 to some of the parameters because, like, he's a collab unit. Like, I'm pretty sure a few of the what's it called? Badass Festival, final boss units. Some of them have plus 40 instead of plus 30 to the parameters, but it looks like they don't. So, yeah, like I said, all around just a really solid unit. He is going to be a hard hitter. He has 51 on his attack stat, which is insane. And on top of that, his speed is not, it's not super terrible either. So if you get some, good gear on him, increase his speed, then this unit is looking like an absolute beast. I'm gonna put them all in the tier list, after I go through all of these characters. But let me just say, Meliodas is looking insane. Not only is he like in a Alright, moving on here, we got Elizabeth. She is a humanoid ally, staff, and queen. Her stats are not super crazy, but also this Elizabeth is more of a support unit anyway, so that's not too bad. Her HP is 115, which is, alright, it's pretty mid. Her attack is also 32, and her defense is 36. Again, both of those are pretty mid. Her intelligence is 45, not 54, sorry, and her resistance is 49, which are both pretty high, and then her speed is 52, which is, pretty good, pretty mid. Her attributes are just 25% towards everything, which is pretty great. Her abilities are Princess's Majesty, Party Intelligence, and Defense increased by 15%, which, pretty good, similar to what Meliodas is, except this time it's Intelligence and Defense instead of Attack and HP. At any +1, she gets Cheering for Friends. At the end of the turn, SP plus 12 of the ally character with the first action gauge. So pretty much what that means is the next character, or the fastest character in your party is going to get an increase of plus 12 to their action gauge pretty much when they go at the end of the turn, which is, you just love to see it. Some more SP build up, that's pretty great, do some more skills. At any +5, she gets First Aid. At the end of turn, recovers allies with low remaining HP by 25% of their maximum HP. Now, when I read this the first time, I was like shocked. This skill is amazing. Like, this is absolutely insane. Every turn, basically, you're gonna be healing an ally by 25% of their maximum HP. That's not the HP they still have left. That is their maximum HP. So if you get like all the way up here to where HP is like the 34 million or whatever, I think this is million. Is it million? Yeah, 1 2 3 1 2 3. Yeah, 34 million. You're gonna be healing so much of that every turn. It's gonna be insane because it's 25% of the maximum HP. So that is already just really good, showing how she is more of a support unit before we even get into her skills. And then at any +7, she gets Just Relax. When you're equipped with a wand weapon, all status abnormalities are invalid. So she's gonna be insane for, some story events, for some raids and bosses, because she can't be hit with any status effect. They are all invalid, which is insane. So again, her abilities are looking really good. You can already tell that she is more of a support. She's, doing some, basic parameter increases. She's giving more SP, and then she's also healing, and this is just, for her personally, but still it's pretty good. All of status abnormalities are invalid, which is pretty sick. Moving on to her skills, we get Well Soon. This is just going to be an ally target, and it's going to, affect allies. HP recovery small, ally debuff effect halved, which is, pretty good. This is only going to affect one ally, so one person on your party, you can target them. It's going to give them a small amount of HP recovery, and it's going to have the effect of any status abnormality, which is pretty sick. At level 200, she gets Passion of Jonah, which is an AoE attack, and also an AoE buff, I believe. So she's attacking the enemy a little bit, and then she's giving everyone in the party an attack increase of 30 to 40%, or an intelligence increase, or not increase, sorry, this is actually a debuff, my bad, I got that wrong. So it's an attack, and it's also debuffing the enemy by an attack of -30% to 40%, or intelligence -30% to 40%. So yeah, that's pretty good. Debuffing the enemy a little bit. That's pretty much her only actual attack. She has some down here, but this is probably the only one that's gonna matter. So honestly, I will take that. It's gonna be a little bit of decent damage, but mainly what you want this for is debuffing the enemy. And then at any +3, she gets Super Healing Magic, which is a party effect and buff, HP recovery small, and abnormal condition recovery. So basically what this means is the same thing as this. If you use this, everyone in your party is going to get a small amount of HP recovery, and any bad status effect they have on them is just going to be ignored. It is going to be invalid, which is insane. So she's already an insane healer, an insane support unit, and we haven't even got to her magic spells, which let's go ahead and... So at Mastery 4, she gets Cool, which is just a basic single target attack. At level 9, she gets Magic Up, which is an ally buff, gonna increase their intelligence by 20 to 35%. At level 15, she gets Mega Cool, which is an AoE attack, no other status effects or anything. At Mastery 22, she gets Mega Magic Up, which is again just another ally buff, increasing their intelligence by 40 to 55%. And then going on to Giga Cool and Omega Cool, they're both just AoE attacks, doing a little bit more damage than the previous one. So yeah, looking at all of that, she is honestly a very solid unit. Her nether enhancements are all normal too, by the way. But yeah, like I was saying, she's a very solid unit. She is in my opinion, she's a really good support unit. Not sure how high she would be on the tier list, just because, you know, again, she isn't really attacking. She has a few AoE attacks down here, but I'm not really sure how much of these you'd be using. You know, if you would rather just use some of these, like, you know, decrease the enemy buffs and stuff, or increasing like HP recovery, stuff like that. But looking at her just as a support unit, I think she's really good. She is mainly focused on healing and like debuff or abnormal condition recovery and stuff like that. You know, not as much, you know, increasing the stats of the part or anything like that. But I think even still, with that being said, she is still going to be a really solid unit. Moving on to Bon, we are starting to get at some of the characters that I actually haven't really looked at too much. So Bon is going to be a humanoid fist forte, and I believe that is a king ally. His stats are all looking, honestly, pretty mid. A few of them are pretty high, like the attack is 46, that's pretty good. The HP is 142, which is really good, actually. That is pretty damn high indeed. And his speed is 56, which again, that's pretty high. I will, you know, definitely take that. You know, you don't really need to put too many speed gears on him to actually make him super fast, which I like. His attributes are all 0%. Again, his weapon mastery is going to be fist forte and 4s other than that across the board. His leader skill is good luck with that. Party speed plus 7%. That's, you know what, that's fine. Pretty basic. You definitely could have had something a lot better in there, in my opinion. Or, you know, even if you did something like Elizabeth or Meliodas, where you have like speed and another stat increase. But honestly, you know, speed, that could come in handy, definitely, especially maybe for some of those, you know, like HP gates, or not HP, EXP gates, or if you're trying to get some more gold. Any +1, he's getting not going anywhere. At the beginning of the turn, basic parameters other than your own HP up 10%. So what that means is basically every turn, all of your stats are going to increase by 10% apart from your HP. That's going to go on for 3 turns. So at the end of 3 turns, you're just going to get 30% increase to all your parameters, which is pretty sick. So what that means is basically if you're going up against like a boss or a raid or anything like that, by the time you get to the 3rd wave, you're already going to have, you know, plus 30% to all your basic stats apart from HP. And honestly, in my opinion, that's really good. I kind of wish that was the leader skill, because this one is, you know, not as good, but I will absolutely take that at any +1. Then at any +5, he gets Immortal Body. At the beginning of the turn, recover your HP by 12%, which again is just another really good skill to have. Basically, you're gonna need, you know, less healing items, or not items, less healing members, less support members if you're doing this, because he's just gonna be healing himself every little bit as the the game progresses. And with his HP, it's already 142, which is 42 million. It's already super high. So healing that, you know, bit by bit every round, he's just gonna have to die a lot slower, which is awesome. And then at any +7, he gets My Fists Will Do. When you are equipped with the fist weapon, attack and defense plus 30%. So just some more basic parameter increases. Again, I think this skill is really good. It is a shame that it is all the way down at any +7. I wish this was like the leader skill, or at least any +1 or something, but I still think this is good. Not exactly how sure it'd be good to go for, because it is a lot of dupes, but still, this skill is just really good. Moving on to his skills, he has Snatch, which is a single target and a single buff, so it gives you speed plus 15 to 30%, and the enemy buff effect is halved, which is pretty good. You know, again, if you're fighting a raid, if you're fighting just some of the story that's pretty hard, and the enemy has a buff on them, you go ahead and half that easy. Then at level 200, he gets Body Hunt, which is, again, pretty much the same thing, except this time you're giving yourself an attack increase of 30 to 45%, and the enemy buff is cancelled, which is just even better. Then at any +3, he gets Banish and Kill, which is just an AoE attack, and it's decreasing all the enemy's defense by 40% for 5 turns, which is huge. Basically, halving the enemy's defense for 5 whole turns. I mean, you know, personally, I think if the enemies last 5 turns with defense, you know, being halved like that, then they should just honestly, they should win anyway, because that is insane. So you're probably gonna, you know, not even have this last the whole 5 turns. And if it does, you know, it's only gonna end up costing 69 SP if you get it fully leveled up. So it is possible you'll just be able to have the SP anyway back when that happens to just debuff them again. Magic spells are at Mastery 4, he gets Speed Up, which is all, again, just an ally buff. All of these are going to be ally buffs. He's giving us Speed plus 20 to 35%, Attack plus 20 to 35%, and then Defense plus 20 to 35%. And the same thing, just stronger, similar to what Meliodas has. So, overall, I think Ban is also a really solid unit. The only thing that I wish it was a little bit better on is his stats. You know, his attack is 46. I actually didn't even check. I don't remember. Yeah, it looks like his dependencies are attack, so the higher attack stat, the more damage you're going to do. And in that regard, he is still a really good unit. Like, 46 is pretty damn high on the attack stat. But personally, I still think Meliodas takes the cake in terms of just being that insane damage dealer, and they do pretty much the similar stuff with all of these like ally buffs down here at the magic spells, and some of the debuffs and stuff like that. But what I will say Ban has over Meliodas is obviously the canceling buffs on the enemy. That is pretty huge, so you know, if you pull him, I wouldn't be too disappointed because he is still going to be really useful to your team. Alright, moving on to Diane here, I'm also going to go ahead and try and speed this up for the last few characters because we still have a lot of characters to go through, so let's go ahead and try and speedrun this a little bit faster. So Diane is a humanoid axe wielder with the Rook class. Her stats are honestly looking pretty good. She has a really high HP stat, pretty high attack stat, really high defense stat. Her intelligence and resistance are pretty low to mid, and her speed is also kind of low to mid, but that really shouldn't matter because it's only 49. You can still, you know, put some gears on her, make her a really fast character. Her attributes are all 0%. Her abilities are her leader skill, party attack and defense plus 15%. So again, just another really good parameter increase. You can't go wrong with that. At any +1, she gets championship, which is the probability of receiving a single attack on a party other than yourself. That's a bit confusing, so let's go ahead and check the update log because this one explains it a lot better. Probability of receiving a single attack on a party member other than yourself increased. Honestly, I really hate this ability on Diane. I think it's terrible. The reason being, she already has really high HP and really high defense, so I think this ability is just a complete waste because what this is doing is it's basically, it wants people to not target Diane on the other team, so it's more than likely that, you know, they're not going to target Diane and they're probably going to target someone else who has lower defense and HP, which personally I think is really stupid. She's a really strong unit. She has 140 HP. Ban, if you guys remember, has like 142 HP. And Diane has a whole 10 more defense points than Ban. So it's just kind of a waste to me to give her that ability. But, I mean, you know, I guess it could work in certain situations. At any +5, she gets Terra Creation. When attacked, your attack and SP plus 30% for 1 turn, which again is just kind of really piling on the fact that this ability sucks. It is so bad because this ability wants you to get attacked, but this one doesn't want you to get attacked, which is just kind of, they're just flip-flopping on it. Then at any +7, she gets Pride of the Giants. All damage dealt when you equipped an axe weapon is plus 50%, which is really good. Love to see it. She's, you know, you're probably going to put an axe on her, seeing as that how that's her forte. So she's just going to be doing another increased damage by 50%, which is great. Moving on to her skills, she gets Diamond Shield, which is a party buff, it looks like, increasing all the party's defense by 25% to 35% and resistance by 25% to 35%. You love to see that. At skill level 200, she gets Ground Gladius. This is going to be a single target and a buff on herself. So it's a single target attack, giving her an increased attack and defense of 50% by 1 turn, which, oh my god, it is really just hammering home the fact that this ability is garbage on her. Oh my god. Honestly, if you pull this unit, I would try your best just to never get her to any +1. Even though these abilities are both really good, I feel like this ability brings her down so much because, like, look at this. She's increasing her defense by another 50%. If you combine that with this one that's increasing by 20 to 35%, you're getting like 75% increased defense. But this skill just doesn't want you to use it. It's so weird to me. And then at level 200, at any +3, not level 200, at any +3, she gets Mother Catastrophe, which is going to be an AoE attack and an AoE debuff, lowering all the enemy speed by 10%. Moving on to her magic spells, she gets Armor Break, which is just going to be a single attack, and it looks like a debuff on the enemy, defense by 20 to 35%. Same thing with Speed Down, it's going to be a single attack, lowering the enemy's speed by 20 to 35%. Level 15, she gets an ally buff, which is going to increase the attack by 20 to 35% of your allies. At level 22, she gets Mega Armor Break, which is going to be another single debuff, lowering the enemy's defense by 40 to 55%. Same thing with Mega Speed Down, lowering the enemy's defense by 40 to 55%. And Mega Brave Heart is increasing an ally's attack by 40 to 55%. So there we go. I think, same thing. I think this unit is solid. I think she is a solid, really good unit. The only thing that I absolutely hate about her is that second ability, her NE+1. I think this ability lowers this unit in the tier list. I truly and honestly do, because this just, it's so useless, and if you want better abilities, you're gonna have to put it on. You don't really have a choice, and it kind of just makes some of this stuff a bit useless, in my opinion, or at least not as useful as it could be if maybe this was switched. If this was switched to where the probability of receiving attacks from the enemy is higher instead of lower, then I think that would be great. However, it looks like that is not the case. So yeah, it is just a little bit unfortunate. This unit really has super high potential. I think she still probably is really good, but for that reason, she's a little bit lower in the tier list than I would have liked. But, still overall pretty solid unit. Moving on to Merlin, she is a humanoid staff-wielding ally. I have no idea what this icon here means, but I guess if you need to, level up more of whatever this icon it is, she's a good unit for you, I guess. Moving on to her stats, she has 116 HP, which is, pretty mid to low. Attack 36, defense 35. Both of those are, again, pretty mid to low. They're not great, but she is a staff wielder, so she is mainly going to be focusing on the intelligence stat. As you can see here, it is 50, which is going to be pretty high. And if my hunch is correct, yep, look at that. All of her skills are dependent on the intelligence stat, so she is still going to do a fairly good bit of damage, being 55 to the intelligence stat. Resistance, she has 46, which is a pretty mid to high, and then speed, she has 51, which is, again, pretty normal. Her attributes are all 50% towards everything, which is great. Her abilities, leader skill, she has great magician's power, party intelligence, and resistance plus 15%, which is pretty good. Enemy +1, she gets keen observer. At the beginning of the turn, the enemy character with the highest resistance is resistance lowered by 30%, so that's good. Basically, you're going to be doing a little bit more damage to that character. At any +5, she gets enhanced magic power. All damage dealt when you equipped a wand weapon is 50%. That is really good. This isn't just certain types of damage, this is all damage dealt, which is insane. So basically, more damage from your normal attack, more damage from your skills, more damage from your magic spells, all of that is going to be increased by 50%, which is pretty good. And then at any +7, she says, doesn't work on me. I have no magical ability seal. Oh, wait. Does that mean, hold on, let's go ahead and check this. Does this mean, where, does it not even say? Wait, it doesn't even say the any +7 in here, does it? Okay, that's a bit weird, but I'm pretty sure what this means is you can't debuff her, similar to what Elizabeth has. I'm not positive on that because this is weird wording, but I think that might be what that means. If that is what that means, that is really good, but if not, still probably a good ability being any +7. Moving on to her skills, she gets Absolute Cancel, which is a party buff, it looks like, release ally buff, and debuff effect. Wait, release ally buff and debuff? I would understand if it was release debuff effect on the ally, but does it also cancel buffs? I don't know what that means. I don't know why Merlin here is worded really strange. But that, I mean, I guess this might be good in certain situations. Let's hope it doesn't remove the ally buffs, because that would be weird. But at the very least, it also is removing debuffs, so at least you have that to look forward to. At level 200, she gets Exterminate Ray, which is a single attack, and it looks like a single debuff on the enemy, lowering their defense by 20% and resistance by 20%. And then at any +3, she gets Endless Whirl, which is an AoE attack and a party buff, giving us intelligence plus 30%, which is all pretty good. And again, these are all based off her intelligence stat, so the more intelligence stat she has, the more damage she's going to do, so she is still going to do a good chunk of damage. At her magic spells, she gets Mastery 4, Star, which looks like just a single target attack. At level 9, she gets Resist Break, which is a single target attack and looks like an enemy debuff, lowering their resistance by 20 to 35%. At Mastery 15, she gets Mega Star, which is an AoE attack. At Mastery 22, she gets Mega Resist Break, which is again a single attack and debuff on the enemy, this time lowering their resistance by 40 to 55%. And then she gets a Giga Star and Omega Star, which again are both just single, or not single target, they're both AoE attacks, going to be doing a decent bit of damage at Power D. So there we go, that is Merlin. I don't know why she's worded pretty weird, but I mean, she's again another pretty solid unit. I think she is definitely a little bit lesser than the other few units we've been looking at. She just doesn't really have too many things in terms of like just hacks, if you would call it. She doesn't have a ton of like buffs or anything, but what she does have is she is lowering the enemy's stats by a great deal. She's lowering their defense, she's lowering their resistance, she's also increasing the party's intelligence by a little bit, which, you know, could be useful if you have a mainly magic team. So yeah, actually, I kind of take that back. Looking at her stats again, she is also a pretty solid unit. All of these units so far have been pretty damn solid. I think, honestly, you couldn't really go wrong with pulling any one of these units. Unless, unfortunately, it's Diane, and you pull, like, 2 copies of her, and you just can't use this one because it's so bad. But yeah, again, Merlin is a pretty solid unit. I'll go ahead and show you guys where I think she is on the tier list after, obviously, I go through the last 3 characters. But yeah, again, just another really solid magic unit. Alright, moving on to King. King is a humanoid spear wielder who has the King chest piece because that just makes sense. He is King. It would kind of be stupid to give him anything else. His stats are 111 in HP, which is a little bit low. Definitely lower than all of our other units that we've seen so far. But, you know, I mean, I guess I chose probably the worst example because Merlin only has, like, a few points higher than him. But, you know, not terrible, not super great. Just decent HP. His attack is 45, which is pretty low to high. His defense is 35, which is, you know, pretty mid. For attack, I said low to high. It's mid to high, which is pretty good. His intelligence is 47, which again is pretty good, mid to high. His resistance is 40, which is pretty mid. It's I would say that's good. And his speed is 60, which is by far the best speed we've seen so far. So yeah, that is really solid. 60 speed. He's probably going to be going first, and especially will be if you put, you know, some speed gear on him or anything like that. Looking at his leader skill, he is Fairy King's Command, Party Attack and Intelligence plus 15%, which is, you know, pretty good, especially for this character, because it looks like he is already doing some stuff based off the intelligence stat. Moving on to any +1, he has Brace Yourself. At the beginning of the turn, the enemy character with the highest defense is defense reduced by 30%, which is pretty good. I don't know why it says 2 turns here. I assume he can only do this effect 2 turns, so, you know, hopefully you can clear some of the levels fast and then make full use of this on the final few rounds. At any +5, he gets Fairy King's Spear. When you equipped a spear weapon, you will not receive the debuff effect. Hey, again, that is pretty good. Basically just completely nullifying any debuffs you can get on this character, similar to what Elizabeth and I think Merlin maybe does. At any +7, he gets Fairy Guardian. At the beginning of the battle, your initial SP is plus 25%, which you love to see. Just some more SP, can never go wrong with that. At his skills, he has level 1 Bumblebee, which is going to be a single target and a single, looks like, I forgot what it's called, debuff on the enemy, resistance by 20%. At level 200, he gets this Form 4 Sunflower, which is going to be an AoE attack and a party buff, giving us attack plus 20 to 45%, and intelligence plus 20 to 45%, which I will absolutely take. Love to see that. At any +3, he gets True Spirit Spear Chastifold. It's going to be a single target attack and a single buff on himself, giving him more intelligence by 35 to 50% and defense by, again, 35 to 50%, which is all pretty good. Now, something I actually didn't expect from this unit is all of his attacks are based off the intelligence stat. I would have figured because he has, like, such a high attack stat, which is, you know, I guess his intelligence stat is still too higher than his attack stat, but I would kind of expect with such a decent attack stat that he would maybe do a few things based off of that attack stat, but no, it looks like it's all just pretty much based off the intelligence stat, which is still pretty good. I mean, his intelligence stat is pretty high, and he's obviously, you know, buffing it with some of his attacks, so I will still take that. It's just kind of weird to see. Moving on to his magic spells, he gets Wind, which is going to be a normal single target attack. At level 9, he gets Braveheart, which is going to be an ally buff, increasing the attack by 20 to 35%. At Mastery 15, he gets Mega Wind, which is just another basic AoE attack. At Mastery 22, he gets Mega Braveheart, which is just going to be another ally buff, this time increasing the attack by 40 to 55%. And then at Giga Wind and Omega Wind are, again, just stronger AoE attacks, pretty much the same as normal. So yeah, King, another just pretty solid unit. I think it is a little bit weird how he's buffing his attack stat, even though he's really not using his attack stat at all. It's also kind of weird because he's a spear user. I would assume that a spear user would use more of the attack stat than the intelligence stat, but I guess it's still fine. And moving on to the final unit of the collab, because I don't really count Lioness Princess Etna as another collab unit, really, because, I mean, she is a collab unit, but, like, she's just kind of Etna dressed up differently. So moving on to the last, like, official 7 Deadly Sins character, I will say, we have Devil Girl Elizabeth. She is, again, a humanoid spear ally, and it's another one of these things. I don't know what this means. Is this, like, supposed to be the bishop or something? I guess that kind of looks like a bishop, so I'm gonna assume that's what that is. So yeah, there we go. Moving on to her skills, she has 122, sorry, in the HP stat, which is a little higher than King's and Merlin's. Pretty good, pretty mid. Her attack stat is 47%, which is mid to high. That's pretty good. Her defense is 35, which is pretty mid. Her intelligence is 45, which is, again, mid to high. I think this is pretty much her attack and her intelligence are just the switch of King, because King's intelligence was 47 and his attack was 45. And, you know, Elizabeth here, her attack is 47 and her intelligence is 45, so that's pretty cool, I guess. Her resistance is 50, which is pretty high, and then her speed is 53, which is pretty mid. She has 25% towards every attribute. Her leader skill is Overflowing Light. Basic parameters of party humanoid characters plus 18%, which is pretty good. I don't actually remember how many of these characters were all humanoid. I think were all of them humanoid? I believe all of them were humanoid. So, I mean, I guess if you really want, like, a full humanoid team of just all the 7 Deadly Sins characters, there you go. You have an easy leader skill giving everyone 18% parameter increases, which is sick. At any +1, she gets Beauty and the Devil's Grace. At the end of the turn, SP plus 15% of the ally character with the highest attack. So whatever character in your team has the highest attack, after you end your turn, that character is going to get an easy plus 15% towards their skill gauge, which is just pretty sick. At any +5, she gets a cute Devil's Blessing. If you are equipped with a spear weapon, your initial SP will get plus 35% at the beginning of the battle, which is, again, just really good. This time it's even plus 35%, or not 35%, just 35 SP, which is going to be really good. You're probably going to be doing some of these hard-hitting moves right off the bat. And then at any +7, she gets Don't Look at Me. Damage to male characters plus 70%. Wow, that is huge. I'm not sure what percent of the enemy characters in this game are like male or female, but this still will be doing a good chunk of damage pretty much regardless, because I assume it's going to be like around 50-50, so you're going to be able to wipe out a good chunk of the enemies that you're fighting. Moving on to her skills, at level 1, she gets Pretty Raid Lessons. This is just a regular AoE attack. At level 200, she gets Goddess Cuddle, which is going to be a party buff, it looks like. It's giving us small HP response, which is just small HP increase. I don't know why response. This website is so weird because sometimes it just has these weird ass like words to describe stuff, even though like it never has these words to describe it regularly. But I guess small HP increase and attack increase of 30 to 35%, which is pretty good. This is also based on the resistance stat, which is, if you guys remember, 50. So I mean, this is really only a party buff, so I'm not sure why you need it to be dependent on a stat. But I guess that's pretty good to know. And then at any +3, she gets Helper Hawk, which is going to be a single attack and a party buff, it looks like. Damage calculation by adding SP plus 10% and resistance plus 10%. So it's going to do another one of those damage calculation things, which I'm still a little bit confused about. But all you need to know is it's going to be increasing your speed and increasing your resistance. So that is already good to know. And it's still going to be attacking. So pretty good choice if you have the SP to spend. Moving on to her magic spells, at Mastery 4, she gets Cool, which is just a single target attack. At Mastery 9, she gets Spoiler, which is just an ally, looks like an ally heal or ally condition recovery, so, you know, getting rid of a debuff. At Mastery 15, she gets Mega Cool, which is a stronger attack of the Cool. This time it's AoE. At Mastery 22, she gets Mega Spoiler, which is just another abnormal condition recovery. Not sure why you would really need one that's more SP cost if they're doing the same thing. Oh wait, I'm an idiot, because this one is affecting the entire party. So this one is only affecting a single ally, this one is affecting the entire party. So if your whole party has a debuff on them, go ahead and pop this, and then the debuff is just gone. And then at Mastery 30, she gets Giga Cool, which is another AoE attack, and same thing for Omega Cool, it's a stronger AoE attack. So there we go. another pretty solid unit. I say it like that because she is not as good as any of the units we've really seen before. Like, I would personally probably pick a few of the other units compared to her, but again, she is still a pretty solid unit. She has a lot of attack stat, a lot of resistance stat, and I think, did some of her attacks even use the intelligence stat? Yeah, all of these use the intelligence stat, which again was pretty high, so you really can't go wrong with stats this high, and attacks kind of just, basing off of that. And here we go, the final unit we are going to be taking a look at before we pop all these guys in the tier list is Lioness Princess Etna. So she is a humanoid staff wielder who is the queen class. Her stats are looking like 112 in HP, which is pretty decent, 37 in attack, which is pretty low, defense is 45, which is pretty mid to high, her intelligence is 53, which again is, it's actually pretty high. I will take that. Her resistance is 35, which is pretty mid, and her speed is 53, which is pretty mid too. She has no attributes. Oh, no, she does. She has 50 towards wind in the attributes. Her leader skill is Princess's Edict. Basic parameters of party wand or monster magic weapon equipped characters is plus 18%. So that's pretty good. If you have, someone who is equipping a wand, or I guess wand forte, and they have a monster magic weapon equipped character, they're going to get plus 18% towards their parameters, which is, it's like alright. I think it's a little bit too specific to be super good, but it can definitely be useful in some certain circumstances. At any +1, she gets work hard. At the end of turn, attack and intelligence is going to be plus 40% of the ally character with the highest speed stat, which honestly, that's pretty good. It's kind of a shame that it's doing it to only one character, but this is a huge attack and intelligence increase, so I will definitely take that. At any +5, she gets staff bludgeoning. If you are equipped with a wand weapon, your action gauge is plus 150 at the start of the wave. That is pretty good. Basically, you're just going to be doing, you're going to be going a little bit faster if you are equipped with a wand weapon, which is pretty good. And it looks like that will actually affect everyone in the party, possibly. That's what it looks like. I don't know if this means that it's only affecting this Etna here, or if this means it's affecting everyone, just everyone in the party who's equipped with a wand weapon. But either way, that's still pretty good. Just doing going a little bit faster at the beginning of your turn. And then at any +7, she gets I'm the Heroine. Damage to female characters is plus 70%. So that's gonna go ahead and kind of tie in with Devil Girl Elizabeth, who's doing more damage to male members. This one is doing more damage to female characters, again by 70%. So if you put them together, then they're just gonna be doing an increase of 70% pretty much towards everybody. Looking at her skills, she gets new Poster Girl, which is gonna be, it looks like a party buff, increasing everyone's intelligence by 30% to 45%, and crit rate by 10% when there is a debuffed ally. Okay, so that's a little bit of a, specific conditions there, but honestly, I'll take it. Actually, what is her regular crit rate? I never usually look at the crit rate just because it kind of, to me, it doesn't really matter as much as the basic, just normal stats, but it looks like her crit rate is 140%, and her crit damage, I'm pretty sure that is only 4%. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. It's just a little bit of an extra thing, but mainly I'm guessing you're going to be using this for the increased intelligence. At level 200, she gets Evil Arc, which is just like a basic AoE attack, it looks like. And then at any +3, she gets Grand Prinny Summon, which is a single attack and a buff on herself, giving her further power up by SP consumption. So I think what this means is the more SP you spend, maybe the more increased stats she has, maybe? Not exactly sure, but that's kind of what it looks like. That's, that's alright, I guess. Moving on to her magic spells, she has Wind, which is just a basic single target attack. Moving on to Magic Up, she is just another, ally attack, increased intelligence by 20 to 35%. Mega Wind, she has another just AoE attack. At 22, she gets Mega Magic Up, which is another ally buff, increasing their intelligence by 40 to 55% this time. And then Giga Wind and Omega Wind are both just AoE attacks, getting a little bit stronger as they go. And there we go. That is all of the characters for this collab. That was a lot to get through. I do apologize. I can already tell this video is going to be really long, so I am sorry about that. But yeah, overall, Lioness Princess Etna, not looking too great, in my opinion. She's just kind of, basic character. She's like, whatever. But yeah, you know what? I guess if you really like Etna, if you think this outfit's cute on her or whatever, you can summon for her, but personally, I probably wouldn't be putting her on my team. But with that being said, I can go ahead and talk about that right now, once we go ahead and jump into the tier list. So let me go ahead and get everything ready, and we can go straight in and see what I think about these units. Alright, so here we got the tier list, and bear with me, I'm going to do these guys one at a time, and then try and fully explain myself. And also, you know, before I actually start putting these guys up on the tier list, please feel free to like disagree and we can talk about it in the comments, because this is a lot of characters to go through, and you know, just with there being so many characters, it's going to be a little bit hard to, you know, compare them all equally and put them in their rightful spots, but you know, I'm going to try my best. So let's go ahead and start everything off with Meliodas, and obviously Meliodas is just going to go straight in the D tier. I think he's trash. No, I'm kidding, obviously. I think Meliodas is an insane unit. I think he's probably the best collab unit from this collab. I think he's just an overall really solid unit. His stats are pretty high, you know, 51 attack stat, 133 HP stat. His speed isn't too bad either. All of his attacks, all of his spells and stuff like that, I think they're all really solid and strong. I mean, he's, you know, giving some AoE attacks as his first skill, then he's attacking, he's buffing his own attack. He's doing the same thing with his second level. And then down here, he's just, you know, giving everyone in the party, you know, the chance of getting increased stats and all that stuff. So overall, I think he's honestly just a really solid unit, and you know, that on top of him just having really good stats and being really strong, I think that definitely lands him in the god tier spot. Moving on to Diane. I think Diane is really good, but just a little bit worse than the god spot. I think she is definitely solidly in S tier, and the reason for this is the same kind of reason why Miever's in here. I think Diane is an insane support unit. Like, I think she is really good. All of her stats are, you know, pretty mid, so she can probably compete with some of the later rounds in the game. And, you know, same with her attributes. She's got 25% across the board. But honestly, the main thing she's doing is just, you know, HP recovery and a few stat buffs. Actually, you know what? Honestly, maybe even she can go into A tier. It's kind of up in the air with me right now. I don't think she's as good as support as Miever is, but what she does really well that Miever doesn't is just, you know, basic HP recovery. She has a lot of really good HP recovery, doing some ally HP recovery, doing some whole party HP recovery, and on top of that, she's also getting rid of any bad status effects that your party has. So overall, I think she's still like a really good support unit. Not as much so as an attacking unit, although she does have some attack skills. But for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put her in S tier, possibly A tier, but for now I'm just going to leave her in the S tier. Moving on to Bon now. I think Bon is really hard to put anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and put him in the S tier. But I think, honestly, it's just kind of another, he's a solid character, but I don't think he quite has what it takes to make it into the god tier or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, he is strong. He does have, you know, a 46 attack stat. He has a lot of HP stat. But I think just in terms of just overall balancing, I think still Meliodas is a little bit better. But Bon still has a lot of good stuff. Like, he has, you know, some speed increases, some attack increases, and the same thing that Meliodas has where he's just buffing everybody with all his magic spells. But I just think he's not going to be as hard of a hitter as Meliodas is, and for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put him not quite in god tier, but I still think he is a really solid unit. Moving on to Diane now. Diane is going to be our first, I think, A tier unit, and the reason is, I think she is a good unit, but all of her potential got absolutely crushed with this skill right here. And I'm not sure, maybe it changed. I can go ahead and take a look at here, but you know, it didn't. I don't know why I did that. She's still really good. I think her stats are insane. I think what she's doing is insane, like increasing defense, increasing attack. You know, she's still going to be a little bit of a hard hitter, obviously with 47 attack, but I think just because you're really not able to fully utilize all of her abilities here, especially because like these few are really good, this just brings her down a lot. And also, you know, at the point where, you know, all of these things are really going to matter later in the game, I think it's probably just a better idea to go with one of these better characters anyway. But, you know, don't get me wrong, she's still a good unit. I think all of these collab units are still good units, so if you really want them, I think they still could easily be of value to your team. But personally, I think she is just a little bit worse off the mark than these other units are. Moving on now to Merlin. I low-key actually kind of forgot where I was going to put Merlin. I believe I was going to put her same with Diane in A tier here, but we can go ahead and take a look at her right now. So Merlin, again, she's another really solid unit. She's, you know, 50% intelligence. All her attacks are going to be based off the intelligence stat just because she is a, you know, magic user mainly. And she actually does have a few really good stuff. Like, she has, you know, release ally buff, debuff effect. Again, really not sure what that means. It's so confusing. But this, because it's so kind of confusing, could go up in the air. If it removes buffs from the allies, then that's like really kind of not worth it for me to use at that point. But if it, only removes debuffs, then I think that's pretty good. But then, she's doing a few good things like lowering the enemy defense with an attack. She's increasing the party's intelligence, which is pretty good. She's also, increasing some resistance. But, like, I think just personally, if you're not really using a full magic team or someone who's, only really using intelligence and resistance, she's just kind of not going to be super useful to any of your, like, general teams. So I think for that reason, she is going to be in A tier with Diane. Moving on to King now. I think I was going to put King in S tier. I kind of forgot where I was going to put him, honestly. We can go ahead and take a look at him again. His stats are kind of all over the place, honestly. But he does have some pretty high intelligence. And, his stats here are all based off the intelligence stats, so obviously he's going to be doing some pretty decent damage. What he's doing is he's just, resistance, lowering the enemy, he's increasing the party's attack, he's increasing the party's defense, or I guess his defense and his intelligence, which is all pretty good, as well as, increasing some of the allies' attack stat, and just doing some basic damage. So I think he is probably more, useful. He's probably can be utilized a little bit better than Merlin down here can. I think just he's a little bit more strong of a unit. Obviously, I could be wrong. I think these two are honestly really similar. I just think just because the simple fact that King is doing some, resistance, he's increasing some defense by a little bit. I think he's just a teensy tiny bit better than Merlin is. But definitely feel free to talk with me about that in the comments, because, it's kind of hard to put characters that are so similar up on the tier list. Now moving on to Elizabeth, Devil Girl Elizabeth, that is. I actually did not even think about her. I kind of forgot where I was going to put these two on the tier list. I believe I was going to go ahead and put Devil Girl Elizabeth at A tier, and then this Etienne probably at B tier, could honestly drop down to C tier, but I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and put them right now. And the reasoning is, Devil Girl Elizabeth is still like a pretty good unit. I mean, I'm pretty sure she's, giving some SP. She could be letting you do more damage to male characters. She's, a little bit of basic parameters of party humanoid characters, which is kind of bad, but, it's whatever. But what she's mainly doing is she's giving a little bit of HP and attack to the party. She's doing this weird damage calculation thing, which is getting everybody SP and resistance. And then she's, doing a little bit of abnormal condition recovery for the whole party. So I think she's honestly pretty good. I think she just personally lacks really the attack power. And I say that, her attack actually stat is really good, but she's also kind of weird because a lot of her stats are like different. Like this one's based on the attack, this one's based on the resistance, and then down here they're all based off the intelligence stat. But overall I think she still is a pretty solid unit. She's just definitely not as good as really any of these units, or especially Meliodas. I think, I would rather have regular Elizabeth here for all the healing than her, but I think still if you pull her, she would be a pretty good addition to your team. And then obviously we got Lioness Princess Etienne, or wait, I just said Etienne, no, it's not Etienne, Etna, and she's just kind of like a meh unit. I mean, she is like solid in her own right, her stats aren't terrible, they're definitely not really super high. Her intelligence is though, and all of her attacks are based off the intelligence stat, if I remember. Yes, they are. But overall, I just think there's probably better characters you could use in, what's it called? Instead of her, I guess. But, she is giving the whole party a buff of intelligence and crit by 10%, which is pretty good. She's, giving herself a little bit of a boost in terms of further power up by SP consumption, which is alright, I guess. She's giving a few allies intelligence, which, it's alright. I would have loved if maybe this one was a whole party boost, instead of just a single ally for increasing the intelligence. But, she's solid in her own right, but again, I think she's just kind of a worse version of this Merlin right here. And the same thing, this Demon Girl Elizabeth is just kind of a worse version of this Elizabeth right here. But yeah, that is, pretty much what I think of these characters. Now, do I think you should actually summon on their banner? 100%. I think still, even if some of these characters are not that good, like this Etna down here, I still think the majority of these characters are really solid and probably going to be a great addition to your team, especially if you can go ahead and pull Meliodas and maybe this Diane. I think these two are probably the most solid characters, or maybe even Bond. I think these 3 characters are all really solid in terms of this collab, because just, you know, this one's kind of a basic all-around good character, a little bit of stat increases, a little bit of attack. Elizabeth is, you know, mostly healing. I think personally this Miaver might be a little bit better than her still, but, you know, I guess we're just gonna have to see when all these characters officially come out. And then obviously this Bond is just kind of, you know, a hard hitter, a little bit of a worse version than this Meliodas. This King is just kind of doing his own thing over here. You know, just a little bit of stat increases, a little bit of attack power. It's pretty good. This Diane is just kind of eh. It would have been a lot better if that evility of hers wasn't so bad. But I still think she is definitely a decent unit. This Merlin is just kind of, you know, basic, decent magic, you know, damage unit. I still think she's really good. This Elizabeth, a little bit worse version than this Elizabeth, and then obviously this Etna, just a little bit worse version of the Merlin. So that is my full kind of summary going over all these characters. I think you should summon. I would honestly recommend maybe if you get a few of these characters, just stop there, because, you know, you don't really want to waste all your gems. But, you know, maybe if you just really like some of these characters, because I know the 7 Deadly Sins is insanely popular, go ahead and summon to your heart's content, because I think you really can't go wrong with these characters. I think they're going to make a great addition to your team if you do pull them. And yeah, that is going to be it. So gamers, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you really liked it. Thanks for watching. So sorry that this video is long, I know, but we had a lot of characters to go through. So yeah, that is going to be it. Like I said, like the video, do all that stuff, and I will see you in probably the summoning, because I imagine I'm going to summon on this. Don't know when that'll be though, because I'm going back home for the weekend. So yeah, you know, I guess we'll get to that video when we get to it. I'm going to stop rambling. Peace.